Hello everyone, it's DuckFaden07. Today we are playing Soulflayer Zoo again. This is my second video of this brew and it's working out pretty good. I'm very satisfied with how it's playing out. In the meantime, people have had good results with this online and in paper. I've been getting a good feedback, so I wanted to do a little update and to show my current thoughts about this list. So I just played a couple of leagues at the moment. I did very well, both of them finished 4-1. And I had some thoughts. So I took a small tweak to the mana base, adding third Scalding Tarn instead of Stomping Ground. I decided that Stomping Ground wasn't really necessary to the list, and another fetch make it more consistent in the first 2 turns. Okay, so my main debate about changing list was Questing Beast, and I think this is my let's say flex slot for this list. And I tried different things here. I tried 2 more Mantis Riders. I tried third Samut, third Mantis. I also tried Urborg Scavenger, which is like very similar cards to Soulflayer, but costing 3 mana. And it can be pretty good in this deck. Sometimes you can exile the creature with haste immediately and get 2 triggers on the exact turn. Sometimes you just exile the Riverwinder and get it to be hexproof, and then next turn give him another plus counter, double strike maybe, stuff like that. It works out very well in a lot of situations. Rarely rarely you just play it as a 3/3 creature, but that's like pretty rare so far. And I'm not sure what to say to you at this moment. I feel like Questing Beast has been good when there is a lot of ring matchups. It still can really surprise people and steal some games. It's great against Yawgmoth, so most of their creatures can block it, and you often get to kill the Grist without any effort. Stuff like that have been relevant, and the Questing Beast has been decent, but I'm just saying there are other options to explore, and definitely this is my flex slot at the moment for this list. We definitely need some creature with the keywords like Mantis, like Samut, like Questing Beast. I'm not sure if 4 of them is enough, because we still have the hexproof guy here, the double strike here, a trample in Oliphaunt, flying of Scion and stuff like that. And we have enough cards to trigger beans definitely in this build, more than enough. Okay, so everything else is the same except that small mana-based tweak with third Scalding Tarn, and that's it. So for this league, I left the Questing Beast in, and for next time, I will probably, for the next video, I'll probably try something else in its place. And I just want to let you know about some of the options I was thinking about at the moment. Okay, so that's it, and let's go to the gameplay and see how it went. Okay, so starting first, a decent hand. I don't have a Sacred Foundry at the moment, but it is a bit slower hand, which can turn out to be pretty good. So as you can see, like I have a Riverwinder in my hand and I have the Fury. This means that potentially I can go for pitch cast Fury, kill something my opponent has, and then play this a Soulflayer guy, which can be incredibly strong as a hexproof double strike creature. Okay, so my opponent goes for a Fire Ice here, but I have mana to play Territorial Kavu anyway. And Territorial Kavu is very good creature in the Rhino matchup. This was Rhinos, of course, and especially if you compare it with Scion of Draco. So Scion giving a Kavu a first strike can be really relevant. Opponent decides to go for Dispute here, and so I was free to play my Scion here, attack with Kavu, get the loot ability. This way I was able to put Fury in my graveyard for Soulflayer without any effort, and I draw the Beanstalk, which is very good. So my opponent is already on 11 life, and I have Kavu and Scion on the field, so I go for the Beanstalk. Opponent uses the Force of Negation, and they also had the Dismember. For my Scion plus the footfalls, pretty good hand from the opponent. And I didn't play my Scion pre-combat. I should have done it, and I would be able to attack with Kavu. That would put me in a much better situation. But yeah, so I was able to attack, play my Soulflayer as a 4/4 double strike flying hexproof lifelink trample creature. And yeah, so that was 8 life on the attacks, so those rhinos almost did no damage, and yeah, that was the game. So let's check out the game 2. So in the game 2, I had the Stubborn Denial and the Scion, tear asunder to go to get rid of the moon if necessary. Okay, so let's see what happened here. I decided to start off with the breeding pool to cycle the Riverwinder. Also, I was not going to cast a Scion on turn 2 anyway because I have to hold Stubborn Denial for their rhinos. And let's see how I boarded. So lightning bolts are pretty useless, so are the questing beasts and Samuts. Only Mantis Rider is useful here because it has flying. So I board out all of these guys, board out all of the bolts, and yeah, had stubborn denials on this side. Okay, opponent goes for crashing footfalls here. I have stubborn denial. Some pretty good at the moment. I also have the Soulflayer in my hand and the Riverwinder in the yard, which means I can have a hexproof guy, which also can get a lifelink with Scion on the field. So I play my Tomb, I play the Soulflayer, and yeah, pretty good. Unfortunately, just hexproof and lifelink this time, but this is also like pretty good. Opponent goes for Dead Gone on my Scion, trying to bounce it. But I decide to use the Stubborn and continue attacking me with my Scion, exile there another other rhinos, and just yeah, at this point I had nothing in hand, just a bunch of lands, and the Scion on the field is a good clock, but there is a bit faster. So I got Zagoth Triome here. I could cycle that, draw the beans, try to draw something, but didn't have mana to play Kavu on this exact same turn. So opponent goes for bounce Scion, attack with rhinos. I'm not sure if this was like that great. I had to play Kavu. I had to play Kavu, and I don't have a basic, another basic, so I can play Mantis Rider immediately. If I was able to play it, I will have some chance, yeah. Okay, so opponent goes for a violent outburst here, but that didn't do much, just I get 1 damage and my cow still survived. And yeah, again, unfortunately wasn't able to cast this Mantis Rider. And opponent now gets Murktide Regent, 8/8 Murktide. I find solution for that. This was pretty cool game. And yeah, this if I was able to play the Mantis Rider, I would probably get a win. But I don't have a second basic in this build, so that was it. The Blood Moon did it for the opponent. And let's check out game 3. Okay, so I had to mulligan that starting hand. I kept this one, was pretty decent. Okay, so I have Fury in my hand, I have the Beanstalk, Soulflayer. This can turn out to be pretty good hand. Opponent suspends the footfalls and I decided to go for the beans. Decide to go for the Kavu. And yeah, Kavu is really good in the matchup, already mentioned that, but it attacks, draws you a card, it blocks the rhinos very well. Okay, so I went for a Steam Vents to make a 5/5 Kavu here. Put Fury in the graveyard to make my Soulflayer better. And I decided to play it immediately. So put a 4/4 double striker in play. This way my opponent can't really play Blood Moon or anything like that. They have to take care of the Soulflayer or they are just going to die next turn. So I was able to attack with Kavu again, putting Mantis in the graveyard, which is great for my Soulflayer if I succeed to recast it again. I have lethal at this point on the field, but opponent taps the Kavu and bossages my Draco. But all that happened in the main phase, and opponent also has Endurance. If they didn't have it, I would get to play the Soulflayer with haste and flying, which would be pretty nasty. But either way, I had a Beanstalk here, and I cast the Scion, drawing another card and still holding the Leyline Binding. Opponent now resolves their Footfalls and passes the turn. So I had end turn Leyline Binding here, drawing me a card, getting rid of one Rhino. This means they have to jump my first strike Trample Cow at the moment. Another Mantis Rider in hand. So I had some options, but I decide to not go for it. I discard Mantis Rider again, put it into the graveyard. Opponent goes for the Outburst. To make another Rhinos to trade with my cow, but I am putting my opponent on 5 life, taking one of their Rhinos and replaying cow and possibly another Beanstalk. So I go for the Beanstalk first. My cow dies. I have multiple options now. I go for the fetch and play the Soulflayer here. Soulflayer has flying and the lifelink from the Scion. Vigilance, so this means I have two attackers for the next turn in the air, but I decide to trade with the Rhino anyway with my Soulflayer just to be in the safe zone. So they bounce my Scion, but yeah, now when they bounce the Scion I get so much of the Beanstalk abilities and I was now in an unlosable situation with holding 3 Stubborn Denials at this point. And yeah, Beanstalks have done too much. And yeah, so I just go for a lethal, play my Mantis Rider finally, and do the lethal attack. That was it. Opponent goes for another Rhinos, but I have a double counter, and that is the game. Okay, so that was game 1, match 1. Let's check out match 2. We'll go through the wins first and then work the defeat in the end, as usual. Okay, so again I have the Riverwinder and the Soulflayer in my starting hand. That I usually in this situation, depends what I'm playing against, but I usually go for turn 2 Kavu. And if I'm expecting the longer game, if I get to know what is my opponent playing, then maybe I'll ditch the Kavu and I just go for the Beanstalk on turn 2 and try to get as much value as possible. Okay, so I go for the Zagoth Triome there. When you play Kavu with fetches in a lot of situation, if you play turn 2 Kavu, you can easily just both cycle the Riverwinder and play Soulflayer on your turn 3. But to do this, you have to go Savai Triome Breeding Pool. You can't do this in this combination. You have to go Savai Triome, Breeding Pool, and then fetch untapped Black Source on your turn 3. And then you can cycle the Riverwinder with Breeding Pool and use 2 black mana to cast your Soulflayer. So you have to be careful about that kind of stuff. I attacked with Kavu here to put my Samut in the graveyard. So already I have First Strike, Vigilance, Haste ability in my graveyard, and I have 2 Soulflayers in my hand. So I can theoretically do a lot of stuff here. Opponent kills my Kavu. I'm hoping to get a red card here, and I do get another Kavu, which is kind of perfect. Yeah. It's pretty brutal actually. So I go for Fury here. I kill their Young Wolf, I kill their Grist. And I have multiple options now. But yeah, in this situation I just have to go for Soulflayer immediately and attack with a haste double strike that is just so brutal. Can't wait to cycle the hexproof. But I can do that for a second. Soulflayer also casting the Scion, so Soulflayer gets the lifelink too. Yeah, so this is 2 turn clock. My Soulflayer has double strike, first strike, haste, lifelink, vigilance. Yeah, everything that's relevant. And that's it. Opponent concedes. Soulflayer just overperforming in all of these games so far. This creature has been very, very good, and this shell has been like I'm very happy with the Questing Beast in the Yawgmoth matchup. I already mentioned that, but Questing Beast has been so good here, often just straight killing the Grist through all the blockers and doing some serious damage. Yeah, I really liked it in this matchup a lot, especially when I was on the play. But it's also cool when you discard it. This is definitely a matchup where I'm happy to have it. And of course, the ring matchups often it will surprise opponent. Okay, so opponent does regular Yawg stuff, plays their dorks. And yeah, so I had multiple options here. Decide to hold the binding, wait for them to hopefully play the Yawgmoth or whatever, but they played the Fulminator Mage. Didn't really expect that. Yeah, but opponent has Boseiju here, so yeah, Fulminator plan is just not that effective when you're also trying to Boseiju me and giving me a land. Okay, so they Boseijed me and then Fulminated me. I was okay with this. Okay, so I had another fetch in my hand, so I was able to get the full domain here. I get my breeding pool, cast my Scion. Scion is very, very good in the Yawgmoth matchup. It's one of the key cards that wins you this matchup. I think it's possibly like the best card. You always want to play the Scion as soon as possible. They can't really block it almost ever, except like a Gilded Goose, stuff like that. Even if they shrink it, it's still attacking, and it's pretty hard for them to deal with. Okay, so I had Oliphaunt here, so I wasn't able to double spell or anything like that. So I just went Kavu, cycle Oliphaunt, find Blood Crypt, and prepare for next turn, play something else. And they decide to use another Yawgmoth ability to shrink my Kavu to let them just block my Kavu with Wall of Roots. They're still taking 3 from the Scion. I'm doing the looting, and I played here the Beanstalk. I got the Tomb, so second black mana I needed for the next turn, and played my second Beanstalk. So I'm planning on going with the Soulflayer next turn, attacking with haste, vigilance, a Soulflayer. Opponent finds go for the throat for my Territorial Kavu, attacks with Yawgmoth. Okay. So I go for the Soulflayer again, also had giving him Trample and the lifelink from the Scion, and find another Soulflayer for the next turn. This guy just worked so well, especially with Scion. They shrink my Scion to 2/2, but take a lot of damage here. They should have probably sacked the Wall of Roots and then do the Proliferate on Soulflayer 2. And they have Grist to get rid of my Soulflayer, which is fine, not a big deal for me. I go for the Steam Vents. Still have multiple options here. and still they didn't deal with this Scion of Draco for the entire game. I also find a Murderous Cut to get rid of the Yawgmoth. I didn't have a third black mana, so I just went for the Soulflayer this game, put another 4/4 creature, this time basically vanilla without any abilities, but that is like totally fine at this moment. I just want another threat on the field. With the Murderous card in hand, this is lethal for the next turn. Yeah. Okay, so this time they decide to shrink my Soulflayer and do the proliferate. But yeah, the Oliphaunt in hand and the Murderous cut means I get to play the cut, draw 2 cards, and they also play the Oliphaunt as a beater. Unfortunately, opponent has the Bowmasters on the field, which means my Soulflayer is going to die just from the Bowmaster ability. But yeah, I have to kill their stuff, and my first draw was Bolt, so I was able to Bolt Bowmaster and make them take just 1 damage from it. Yeah, I was this way I wasn't able to cast Oliphaunt this turn, but this wasn't really a big deal. I was okay with casting either of these creatures next turn. Opponent is on 0 cards in hand, plays the Young Wolf, and yeah. Okay, so I had Oliphaunt and Riverwinder in my hand for next turn. I also find the Fury, so I just cast anything of this is like really good. Also finding me the Binding for another 2 draws, and yeah, that was it. Opponent played for 1 more turn and conceded. That was the game. Okay, so that was match 2 against Yawgmoth. Let's check out game 3. Match 3, sorry. Okay, so match 3 again, no red mana, but I had the Oliphaunt, so it's pretty good. I decided to go for the Triumph here. I was playing against the Burn and had multiple options here. I decided to shock in the Foundry to save the Bolt for the combat. I go let them do the ability, then Bolt the Guide. Reveal Mantis Rider on the top, take 1 damage from the Spear. Then play my Scion. I have to start doing some damage here, so I just go for block the 5th Spear and binding the other one. I was able to like bolt to take the one that was killing my Scion, but I'd rather like prevent 2 damage and get rid of their second Spear. On my turn, I was able to play the Samut, connect with 2 damage, and draw a card. Also draw again with the Samut. I went for the attacks, 7 damage there, putting my opponent on 3 life. I wait with my bolt until they play something and then bolt them face to finish the match, finish the game. That was it. Okay, let's check out the game 2. If I let them that 2 damage, maybe I wouldn't be able to win that game. I think I'm happy with the play I made there. Okay, so second game. Unfortunately, I was kind of too slow, or my opponent was maybe just too fast. They were on 1 land, but did a lot of damage here, and I had multiple solutions here. So I had option to go for Soulflayer with lifelink. They were on 1 land, so I had some chances of them not drawing the second land. They also needed to have 2 1 mana burn spells. And yeah, so maybe I should have gone for the Stubborn Denial this turn, but this meant that my only blue source was Zagoth Triome, and this meant that And this is also my black source, which means I won't get to play the Soulflayer anytime soon. So that was the problem. I decided to go for the Soulflayer this turn. If I untap, survive the turn. If I untap with Stubborn Denial, game is over. I get the lifelink and that's it. But opponent finds the land from the top and finishes me. That was it. Okay, so I decided to keep really mediocre hand for game 3, but I was on the play. I had this one Stubborn Denial. This means I just have to find one or two creatures. I had Beanstalk to do me a draw here. Okay, so I decide for kind of aggressive play here. I just pitch cast the Fury to put him into the graveyard, get the double strike, and play the Soulflayer as a 4/4 double striker, also enabling my all my Stubborn Denials. So I play the Samut, holding the Stubborn Denial, attacking for 10 damage, also drawing card from the Samut. I used the Stubborn Denial, preventing them from killing my Samut and also preventing the 2-turn clock. I attack with Soulflayer, put them on 1 life, which means they can't really use the Fiery Islet, and they untap with 2 Stubborn Denials, which were GG's, and that's it. Okay, I successfully raised Burn in this match, and that got the game. So let's check out the match 4. Okay, so pretty cool hand. Turn 2 Kavu, turn 3 Samut possibly attacking for 7 damage. I go for a Kavu. My opponent was playing humans, I think, yeah. Okay, so they were also on Saga. So they just randomly play Needle on Wooded Foothills. Luckily I didn't have Foothills in hand. I go for Territorial Kavu discard, put Questing Beast in the yard, and do the Riverwinder cycle, and I find the Fury, which was like really good. So I pass the turn holding the Binding. I just go for Territorial Kavu, discard the Riverwinder, and I paid the Sentinel tax. And I don't know why, but opponent was like created the construct token in response, which was like great for my Fury. I was able to kill both construct and Sentinel this way. I would still be like in a pretty good position, but this like opponent made it very easy for me. Okay, so I had no idea what my opponent is playing, but yeah, now I see it. Opponent played Urza, Lord High Artificer, and now it's clear they're playing the blue-white Top-Tier Foundry combo probably, or just affinity list, something like that. So I go for the Binding there. Opponent has the Rebuke, but I have too much stuff. There is the Fury, killing the Urza. And there is Soulflayer. This guy is nasty. This guy is nasty. So double strike, haste, hexproof, vigilance, death touch. How does it have death touch? Wow. From the questing beast. Okay, so yeah, pretty brutal. Soulflayer again. I mean, this was overkill, but enabled me to finish game this exact turn. Otherwise, I wouldn't have kill. Maybe they would untap, play the ring or something like that. But the Soulflayer enabled me to finish the game immediately. And I mean, having all these keywords uh, means when I play him, this game will probably end in my favor because there's no way, like almost for any deck to deal with this kind of threat. And that was it. Okay, so let's check out the game 2. Okay, so had to mulligan that to one lander and kept a pretty good hand. Force of Vigor, 2 Scions, pretty decent. Okay, I find my third land, that's pretty neat. Opponent starts off with the Top-Tier Foundry, I get my Zagoth Triome, I top deck Kavu, so I decided to go for the Kavu instead of Scion. Yeah. So also getting the Samut, but I was kind of afraid of them playing Urza and comboing or something like that. Didn't want to get into trouble by playing Samut, so I decided to go for the Scion. They countered that, and that was my opportunity to take Top Tier Foundry. And the next turn, I was able to play Samut, do the redraw with the Kavu, deal 7, and draw a card from Samut, play the land, and yeah, okay, opponent has the Wear Tear to get back their top tier foundry, plays the Nettle Cyst, and that is the last card in their hand. I hardcast the Force of Vigor. Surely they gain 2 life here, but yeah, this situation is like very good for me, and I'm probably winning next turn. Opponent finds another foundry, but they don't have much. So I just go for the attacks, discard the land. Both of my creatures have trample. Opponent lets all this damage through, and there on 1 I finish them off with a bolt, and that is the match. Okay, so let's now check out my defeat in this league. It was pretty cool league, pretty representative. A lot of the common matchups you see in the leagues. Okay, so this was a scam matchup. It was very close. Usually, scam matchups are like that. Have a lot of stuff going on here, and a lot of ways to deal with them. I have like these Furies, Oliphants, Lightning Bolts, Samuts, Territorial Kavus, all this stuff I can cast even under the Blood Moon, and Orcish Bowmasters are not that good against me post board. I mostly take out the beans, but I wasn't really expecting a main deck Blood Moon. If I've yeah, so lately like they really don't play Blood Moon in the main that much, and I wasn't expecting it, and I just went for a Breeding Pool. I could have gone for the Forest as my second land, but I rather played around them having a Fury to kill my Kavu than a Blood Moon, and unfortunately I got into bad situation because of that, but still this was winnable for me. I had hardcast Oliphant as a 6/4 creature with trample. Opponent attacks with Orc, and I decide to let this damage through. They had Fable. I had to attack now, so I wasn't able to let this. Obviously, they played like they have the Bolt, but I didn't really have much options. And yeah, so they attacked for 4 damage here, finished me off with Bolt. That was it. Okay, let's check out the game 2. If I played around a Blood Moon this game and got that Forest, I think I would win this game. I would be able to cast Scion in that situation for 8 mana and stay back with Oliphant, block with him, which would get me a lot more turns. Okay, so I went for a Kavu here, doing draw discard. Opponent plays the Bowmasters in response. Okay, so let's see how I sideboarded here. I took out a Mantis Riders and the Questing Beasts and the Oliphants. Bossejus come, most situations where I want the Bosseju, they come for the Oliphants. And Mantis Riders are pretty bad against Blood Moon decks. Questing Beast also like pretty mediocre in this matchup, so all of these cards had to go out. And yeah, Tira Sunder, Svetin, Boseiju, and Force, I think. All of the Blood Moon hate I have. And yeah, I played Binding and another Cow. This was very quick. Game 2 against Scam, fast win. Okay, let's check out the game 3. I think I had good odds at winning all of these games. I was pretty close in almost everyone. I also had opportunity here to pitch cast the Fury immediately. I was thinking about it, but decided against it. Maybe that was better play. Still not, at this moment, still not sure. But I think my play was fine. Okay, so again, I decided to... Yeah, I think I accidentally fetched the wrong Triome here. Yeah, on the first turn. Yeah. And I got the Forest. Opponent also played the Bowmasters in response to my Beanstalk, getting 2 of these triggers. I had a Fury, and I decided to pitch the Cow from my hand and leave the Bolt. I killed a 3/3 Orc and the Ragavan because they were like the most threatening for me at the moment. Yeah, I had 6 of Blood Moon solutions, but opponent had the Blood Moon again, and I was in a situation when I had the Riverwinder, a Soulflayer and Scion, all pretty uncastable cards. I draw another Territorial Kavu, but opponent unfortunately had removal for both of my creatures, both of my Kavus. So there Kiki Jiki flips, and I don't find any solution on time. I had 6 of these cards in, giving me some chances, but just regular Blood Moon game. Opponent didn't find a solution on time, and opponent tempos me out. They had good draws like Doughty, Fable. Yeah, that's all like pretty good stuff, and I was stuck with most uncastable stuff in my hand, and that was it. Okay, so that was the entire league, another Soulflayer league. I think it was, as I said, very representative league. Maybe I could have played in some matches better, but it wasn't that relevant. I could have gotten the trophy, like maybe if I did a few stuff different this time too. But overall, I got to say I'm pretty happy with this list. It continues to perform well in this hard metagame. And as I said, those 2 questing beasts are definitely my flex slots. I'm interested in trying out other stuff, like as I said, third Samut, third Mantis Rider, or just max out on the Mantis Riders. But Mantis Riders are very good in this deck, but kind of hard on the mana base. And also, because we have a Forest and the Overgrown Tomb in this list, which makes Mantis Rider kind of sometimes hard to cast, but these lands are very good in the list and very great, doing very good job with our other cards like Soulflayer. Obviously, we need untapped black sources to support him, and he's very good here. So we definitely need the Blood Crypt and the Tomb. Okay, but there are some options, like as I mentioned, like Urborg Scavengers, more Mantis Riders, more Samuts, other cards. I'm not sure, like there are also other options that I didn't mention yet. And that's it. Okay, so hope you like the league. Hope you like this video too, like the previous one. Friendly reminder to click like, click subscribe, comment in the videos. I'm very excited to see how did you perform with this list. Did you test it? How did it go? I have 3 very good performing Zoo Beanstalk lists on my channel. That is Zoo Scam, Soulflayer Zoo Beans, and the, let's say, normal Zoo Beans list. All three are very powerful. Today, Zooscam also got the top 4 placement in the challenge, and I think among three, maybe Zooscam is the most powerful one, but the Soulflayer has like some really good matchups, and this guy just can beat some decks single-handedly, and they just won't have a solution for it. And yeah, that will be it. Okay, it's also like probably the most fun of the three, the Soulflayer one, doing its thing, and sometimes just jamming the Fury, pitchcasting the Fury, discarding either of these guys or just a hexproof cycle, and you get a huge threat that is impossible to deal with for a lot of decks, and that's like yeah, really doing good with it. And as you could see in the leagues, that's it. Okay, so again, thank you for watching, and goodbye.